Mary made that flag.
See all these sound panels? That's what we need.
I got 96 of them for like $16. And they come with the sticky things to put them up. And they haven't fallen down yet. So, yeah, no, I got... it's a crazy thing that how this room changed from an empty basement with stud walls that weren't even covered to this creation in like 5 weeks, 6 weeks. So here it is. This is Backstage Pass. It's where it all is gonna hopefully start.
Yeah, right.
So I was thinking about something today when I was like, oh my God, I can't wait to do this podcast with Randy. I can't wait to do this podcast with Randy, because 24 years you and I basically have been in the Shires family, because you got married last month and I got married this month in the same year. So we've pretty much been brothers for 24 years, and we always talk music.
Yep.
But the one thing, we've only gone to one concert together the entire time you and and that was 1,000 Foot Crutch in Duluth.
Yeah.
Either I've been at your shows or you've been at my shows, but we've never actually gone to a concert together, which was a great concert.
That's not right.
What?
We went to Pillar too.
Pillar was 1,000 Foot Crutch.
That's the same one?
Yeah. It was at that church downtown Duluth.
The Armory.
Yeah, at the Armory.
Okay.
Yeah, because that was you got the third day wire.
Yeah.
You were like, oh, yay, thanks. I actually love that CD. But we've never gone to a concert together other than that one. All these years, you would have thought you and I would have been concert buddies the whole time. What I want to ask you about, of course, obviously you're a guitar player.
Yeah.
What tell people that are listening what inspired you to pick up a guitar and start playing?
Black Sabbath, Iron Man.
Really?
Yep. First time I heard it.
Black Sabbath, Iron Man.
that opening note. I heard it. My buddy brought it to school and he played it for me, and I said, "What is that?" And he said, "That's a guitar." And there it is.
Nice.
Yep.
For those of you at home, Paranoid on vinyl. I should have played that in the green room before.
Iron Man.
Really? So that of all songs, see, now I would have suspected, and actually, today's a huge special day for the music industry, because this day, 1978, Van Halen released "Running with the Devil" off of that album right there, which we'll talk about a little bit later. The self-titled album by Van Halen, which we are actually listening to in the green room before we started. I honestly thought that was what inspired you, but it was Black Sabbath. Okay,
Before
so when
that.
you picked up a guitar after you heard Black Sabbath.
Yep.
Now, I know a little bit about your mom and your dad. So how did that go over?
They didn't know.
They didn't know.
They didn't know. Yeah.
How did you get away with it?
They didn't know what I was playing. They'd never heard Black Sabbath or any of that.
So I suppose you weren't playing, but you must have had headphones on and playing with it?
I just played my guitar. So
okay.
I learned the song and I would play my guitar, and my dad would be like, "What are you playing?" I'm like, "I'm just making this up. Just making it up."
Just making this up.
Yep.
He's like, "Well, you're pretty talented. You should probably write that down." Yeah, no, Dad, I can't. And now, I remember back, because I have a guitar hanging up in the green room in the Zen Den, next to the Stevie Ray Vaughan picture, and I was asked, I was like, "Man, you should teach me how to play guitar." But you actually don't know how to read music, or
no, I don't.
You just play by ear and by feel.
Yep.
Now, I know there's a lot of famous guitar players out there that actually, I don't believe Eddie knew how to play.
Eddie did called it improvising. Yeah. He just play whatever he felt. Yep.
God, see, I'm not. The reason why
it makes the guys in my band mad though, because they're always like, "Play this." I'm like, "I don't know what that is. Just show me." Just show me.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of what I was asking you that day. It was like, well, I just want to learn like rhythm stuff, so that way, if I ever did get into a band, which look, I was a DJ for a reason. I can't play instruments. But I always wanted to be in a band. I always wanted to be, even if it was just that guy back there, like the bass player from Bon Jovi that nobody still knows the name of.
Right.
I don't. Alec John Such was the bass player who wrote a book, and he got booted. Now, I just saw a picture. Richie's not with John anymore. So it's just Tico, David Bryan, and John Bon Jovi now because they have some young guy playing guitar. And
Richie said if John's voice comes back, he will join the band because John had surgery on his vocal cords.
But they're not really Bon Jovi anymore.
No.
Well, but they're smart. They evolved with the times. When they were just starting out, everybody who was 16 was listening to them.
Yeah.
When they got to be in the 20s, they started playing a little bit more adult contemporary music. And then in the
country
30s and 40s, they got into the country, and now they're back to adult contemporary, and they're still selling millions of records because he's a good... You know what? His voice is not terrible. I mean, Mary and I saw him live... Oh, that was with the Goo Goo Dolls, so that would have had to have been 2003, 2004. Look, man, for what he was doing, he was rocking the shit out of that stage. I mean,
he's a good front man.
Yeah, he's a great... Speaking of that, all right, let's jump to this topic here real quick. Sorry. I was down in Orlando, in Borglando, because I was staying with Jeff Borg. And shout out Jeff Borg. Your episode, we got to do your episode again because my audio sucks. Anyway, Lori, his wife, asked me one night, best front man in rock and roll. Oh, and I was like, oh, shit. Well, and then I was like, okay, well, hang on. Are we talking theatrics or are we talking voice? Or are we talking both? And she's like, well, what do you propose? I said, well, theatrics, it's got to be David Lee Roth. I mean, with the scissor kicks and the whole jiu-jitsu thing, whatever the hell he was doing. David Lee Roth is a great frontman.
Yeah.
But singing-wise, I mean, as much as I despise the band, Freddie Mercury's voice is unstoppable with the octaves.
Then look at Steven Tyler.
Steven Tyler. What a great frontman.
Or Alice Cooper.
Alice Cooper, who literally is the epitome of shock rock, yet the guy is a model citizen. He's a mayor.
I know.
For Christ's sakes. He's a mayor and he plays golf. But then I brought up one and it kind of stopped the whole party. I was like, Prince. They're like, oh, shit.
Yeah, Prince.
Prince, he commanded an audience's attention. I saw Prince live twice. Oh, shit, there it goes. Yep, standing up. There it goes. I saw him. I got tickets for my birthday in 1984, or for Christmas in 1984. It was Prince tickets. Go see him on the Purple Rain tour with The Time and Sheila E.
Beth would have liked that.
So my dad, my real dad, absolutely despised Prince, so he wasn't going. So my stepdad had to bring me to this concert. He had to sit through 4.5 hours of nothing but big black ladies screaming at the top of their lungs how much they love Morris Day and how much they love Prince. Yeah. 4.5 hours. I didn't even get to hear the concert. It was so loud in there. They were shriek every time Morris Day or Prince even moved. These ladies were going crazy. Yeah. And it's like, oh, God, I just want to listen to this one song I know because I'm like, 13. I don't really know Prince yet other than Purple Rain. And I was just like, I just want to hear the one song. And they just kept talking and talking. But it was still a great experience because I remember seeing Prince out there. And then I got to also see him at Glam Slam when he he was really involved in the foster care program down in the city. Yep. So a lot of times he would pay for respite care so the foster care parents could come out for a night. Well, my stepdad was like, yeah, I already seen his ass once. I'm not going there again. So I got to go see him do a 6-song set at Glam Slam, and it was new stuff I didn't know, but it was still like, oh man, I'm in the same room as Prince.
Yeah, kudos to your dad though, because we've all done that. Beth and I have taken our kids to concerts. It's like, sit off at the bar and let you guys go do your thing.
One Direction.
No, it was.
Who was the?
Beth got the worst end of the deal. She had to take the kids to a concert, and Fun opened up, and she's a big Fun fan.
Yeah, I bet you are. Yeah.
I think I got.
Hey, you know what we're missing over here, Mr. Dan? Play some dang music in the background. Wonder why it was so.
I think I got a text that night saying she wanted to slit her wrists. So, yeah.
Fun.
Luckily, I got to stay with Presley at the hotel. She was like two or three. So I stayed at the hotel, and Beth had to go to First Avenue.
Well, who the hell else was there with Fun?
No, who was the band? It was Jack's Mannequin.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Ew.
So our kids were into that kind of music.
Yes, they were. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I remember those.
Tyler had the big hair over his eye and all that from AFI, and
oh yeah, he was. You just hit play on my media player that was there, right?
Yes.
Okay. I have no idea.
No idea.
It's not coming through so it's more for us. Down just a hair more. Down a hair more. Down a hair more.
Yeah.
There you go. Just something in the background. No, I remember it was like Kirsten and all. They were in the Donnie Darko and all that, and the long arm gloves, and that emu stage,
the neon pants,
the emu stage, emu. I don't know. Emo, yeah. The emo, they were better off being. They would have been better off being emus.
Sierra still to this day, when I talk to Sierra and we start talking music, she's like, "Dad, those were the best times I had," because she would get in all the mosh pits.
Yeah, I remember Sierra,
and she would come out bloody and bruised up.
She was shoulder girls, man. She wasn't petite. She was ready to throw fists when she got in there.
She was pretty brutal in the mosh pits. But
I remember videos.
I took the kids to As I Lay Dying. Brutal concert.
Oh.
Tyler was so scared he just clung to my leg. And Sierra's like, I'm going out there. And she got in the middle of that mosh pit. And she was throwing people around and slamming. And the next morning, we got up out of the hotel, and she was bruised from head to toe. And I'm like, somebody's going to think we were
Child Protection Services on you.
And she was like, that was just the most fun. But she couldn't move for like a week.
Well, no, that's, see.
And she still says those were the best times for her. That that her parents took her to those concerts. And
my dad, I was my dad's concert buddy. He took me to, Christ, before I was 16 years old, I had probably already had 50 concerts under my belt, and I got to see all the classics, all the great ones back, before they were old.
Well, and Beth and I have carried that on with taking Presley to concerts. We've taken her to, last summer we got to go see Metallica and go Gyro we saw, and Korn, and Pantera reunion we got to see, and
she got to
see Rush right before
Neil died,
and so those are all good memories for our kids, I think.
And that's the big thing too is I raised my kids on music. I didn't censor them from look. You know what? It's all make believe. Okay, none of this shit is real. So don't, because my kids were into like ICP. And it's like, no, they really don't murder chickens. Trust me, kids, they don't. But I never held them back from listening to whatever they wanted to, because my dad never did. My dad was like, you like Wham? All right, I'll buy you the vinyl record. I actually still have it down here, but hey, Pet Shop Boys back in the 80s, I loved them. My dad bought the vinyl for me just because he's like, hey, look, I'd rather have you listening to it here than at a party, even though the parties were at your house, Dad. It never made sense to me.
Right.
But music is a universal language. And actually, I was just talking about that the other day with a buddy. Well, actually, it started because of Miss Mary. Miss Mary, I had a vinyl record playing in the living room. And she goes, I can't even remember what I had for breakfast yesterday morning, but I can remember the lyrics to a song from 30 years ago that I haven't heard in 30 years. I'm like, yeah. I said, music is therapeutic. Music is it's
How many
it's
times
medicine.
you're driving in the car and you hear an old song and it takes you right back to, just one song. You can
know
picture
exactly
yourself
where
in
you
school
were.
or at somebody's house. Or
matter of fact, I remember
we talk about that all the time. If I hear that song, it takes me right back to 1983, and I was doing this at that time. I heard that song.
I remember exactly where I was. I was at Maplewood Mall, standing in front of the Sam Goody on that Friday when they released Metallica's Black Album.
Mm-hmm.
I waited in line with like 60 other dudes.
Which mall?
Maplewood Mall.
Maplewood Mall.
Yeah. I waited in line for like 6 hours for the store to open. I got remember the paper sleeves that they came in?
With the CD.
Yeah, with the CD at the bottom. I bought that.
Unlock it out of the plastic. Yeah.
Yep, and I bought the cassette at the same time because the cassette was for the car and the CD was for at home because I didn't have a CD player in my car yet because I wasn't rich by any means. It was 91. I think I was making $3.50. I
had a Discman.
Oh, I had a Discman.
I Velcroed to my dash, and I had the tape insert.
Oh yeah,
and I could put my. They would just skip all the time.
Oh yeah, yeah. Music though is a universal language. I have signs all over the place here that says music is what feelings sound like. And to me that is the biggest thing about. And the whole reason I got into the entertainment business back 33 years ago was because I knew I didn't have the skills for singing or playing an instrument. I tried. I had every instrument. My dad bought me every instrument. Every time I said I want a drum set, bought me a drum set. I want a bass. He bought me it. But my dexterity between my hands, I couldn't do it.
Yeah, but you had the frontman thing down with Dr. Rock.
Oh, I am a frontman, 100%. If I could have sang better, I guess I never mind. I've heard some of the singers lately. I could have been a billionaire. I've always wanted. Well, speaking of that, this is a great story. Miss Mary's never even heard this one, so this is going to be. So
ready, Mary.
When I was living in Duluth in 9th grade, I was hanging around a bunch of boys at that time that were all around the same age. Jay, Scott. There was like Melody. There was like 7 of us that we ran together. And we were all into hair metal because at the time, 86, 87, that was just that peak. Yep. White Snake, Iron Maiden. I mean, everybody was just on fire. Yep. Dokken was the huge one in our group. Dokken and Motley Crue.
Yep.
So I can't believe I'm going to tell this story. All right. So the 7 of us decided we were going to put on a concert for the rec center. We were going to do an air band thing for this group. So they built everything. They built guitars out of not cardboard but wood. The drummer actually had a real drum set but took the drum heads off so he couldn't hit it. And I had taken a broken hockey stick and I taped it up to look like a microphone. I had the shit hanging off my arms like they did, and we had the jeans were cut and we all had wigs. We literally went out there for 30 minutes and not in sync at all on any movements. We're running into each other. No, one guy goes up like this and hits the bass player in the face with his guitar. It was an absolute shit show. And I know one of the moms recorded it on VHS, and if that ever, oh my God, if that ever made the light of day, it would be the end of all civilization as we know it. Right. It was awful. We were like poison. We wanted to be poison. Why?
I don't know.
God, ick. I was listening to Metallica and all the heavier Exodus and Anthrax and Slayer, and then I found the Beastie Boys. Oh, shit. As soon as I found the Beastie Boys, my life changed.
Really?
Then I started listening to hair metal, and I started listening to East Coast rap because I like the storytelling and stuff like that. But I actually want to talk about... So these 3 records behind you actually hit number 7 on your little keypad there. So these 3 albums behind me, and I had actually mentioned this to you before you came over. So these are my top 3 albums of all time right here that I absolutely love.
What's that one?
So this right here is 1989's Beastie Boys' Paul's Boutique.
Yeah.
This to me is the epitome of so the Dust Brothers from California, they sampled 114 different songs and made this entire record with just samples. To me, this is the epitome of when hip hop became hip hop right here, this album. Of course, the middle one here, everybody knows this one, 1978 Van Halen. We already talked about that. Mm-hmm. That actually replaced what my number one was, or that spot was for a while. It was Stone Temple Pilots' Core, but after I re-listened to it a few times, I'm like, gotta put that. And then, of course, anybody who knows me knows that I am a Prince fanatic, so number one on my list, Purple Rain soundtrack, I think is literally the greatest soundtrack that was ever composed. So I am going to throw it to you, my brother, and your top 3 albums.
There's so many. I mean, it's so hard to...
What are the 3 albums that influenced... How about this then? What are the top 3 albums that influenced you the most? We already know one because we already showed that one. I mean, obviously that's an influence on you.
Well, that wasn't an album though. That was just that song. Yeah, that opening guitar bending.
I mean, this has got
to that song.
I mean, this is no joke. This album's no joke.
No,
though.
I know, but that's not
Paranoid, War Pigs, Caravan. Oh man, Pantera's cover of Planet Caravan.
I never listened to Black Sabbath actually until later. So
yeah, see, my dad didn't
sound.
Yeah.
You know, so
my dad didn't do Sabbath, so I didn't catch them. But my dad loved Ronnie James Dio, so I don't understand that. Why would my dad not have been listening to Sabbath?
I don't know.
Because he took me to see Ronnie James Dio 3 times.
That would have been a good concert.
Oh, it was a great concert.
You know, all through the 80s, because I had strict parents.
Yes, you did.
So I got into the Christian hair metal for a while. So
Striper and Bloodgood.
I would say there were so many bands that were coming out that were Christian bands that I listened to that I couldn't even name one. You know, I mean, there was just a lot.
They did have a big...
Striper was a big one in the 80s that I listened to just because of that atmosphere. But I think the one album from the 80s that really started me playing a lot of guitar was I learned the Pyromania album a lot on my guitar. So that would probably be number one for me. There was a lot of bands throughout the 80s that I listened to. Of course, you know, Megadeth, Iron Maiden, Testament, all those bands. Van Halen was a big one. I wasn't so much a Van Halen fan as I was an Eddie fan.
See,
so I actually didn't like, and everybody's going to hate me for this, but the better music for Van Halen for me was Sammy Hagar. I think their songs were better.
Because it gave Eddie freedom to experiment more.
I just thought David was a little too out there for me. And I think their music got a little more...
polished.
Just more serious. You know,
absolutely.
Their songs were more serious. You know, they wrote about some world issues and
absolutely.
Stuff like that. But
5150 and OU812.
5150 was a big album for me when that came out.
I have 5150. I love... Yeah, I have almost everything.
I would say number 2, and it's really close to number 1. There it is. Yeah,
it's a great album.
It would have to be Pantera Vulgar Display.
Oh, that's a good album.
So when that came out, I really got into Dimebag, and I got into that band, and I really listened to them a lot.
See, I got lucky enough to see them on the Cowboys tour. I went to Somerset, Wisconsin, and saw them with Sepultura.
So I got to see them at the Target Center. They were doing kind of a greatest hits concert right before Southern Trendkill came out. So they did all of their albums' greatest hits up to that point.
Sure.
And that was an amazing concert. And I'm glad I got to see Dimebag and his brother play.
Yeah.
You know, because that was So that was a huge album for me, and to this day, I'm still a big Pantera fan. Like,
Oh, I still can throw Pantera on.
We went and saw the reunion tour with Zakk Wylde and
Charlie Benante from Anthrax.
Those guys really do the songs justice. Like, they really try to keep to the
Zakk didn't try to Zakk the songs up too much.
No, he doesn't do all those little squeals and all that. He really just tries to keep the songs how they should be.
And Charlie even said that Vinny was one of his best friends. He would never do anything like that.
So that was a real close number.
Well, in those pictures you sent me of how close you got with your camera to seeing Zakk was pretty wild.
It was a good concert.
Now, who else was there? That was Wolfgang?
So we saw Wolfgang. He was really good in concert. I felt bad because there really wasn't a lot of people there at that point.
Well, no, it was so early in the afternoon. It was like, what, 5:30 start?
Yeah, it was like 6 o'clock or something like that. But he was really good. So Beth and Presley and I went to that concert, and Beth wanted to see Wolfgang. I wanted to see Pantera, and Presley wanted to see Metallica. So we all had somebody there we were wanting to see, and it was a good concert. It really was a good concert.
I had a lot of friends that went to that one.
I don't know who I would put in number 3 because there's just so many albums out there that speak to me, or
I can throw these 3 albums on anywhere on there, and I can immediately start singing or rapping along with it just because I've listened to them so many times. But I used to have a gigantic wall of vinyl.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I just was like, I don't listen to it. So I've literally narrowed it down to what fits in here, and and that's all I need. Because I've got, as you can see, I've got the CD collection built up, and I got 250,000 songs on it.
I will say, one of the concerts that blew me away completely was Gojira.
Really?
I never listened to them. I never knew their music. We saw them in concert. They opened for Korn, and they completely blew me away. I just left there wondering what I even just saw.
No, aren't they? They're from the United States.
No,
right? No,
they're from
Brazil or
some country like that. Denmark.
Okay.
Something like that. But they just literally
France.
Is it France?
Okay.
They just blew me away.
Oh, that's right, because they opened for the Paris Olympics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Hold the phone. Yeah. Thrash death metal is doing songs at the Paris Olympics? Yeah. Really? That was one of those moments where I just looked at the TV and like, oh, yeah, okay, we have aliens among us. Just don't forget
those guys are something. They're on a totally different plane.
They're talented.
Their timing in their concerts, and then they play like cartoon type movies while the concert's going, and it's all timed to their music, and
nice.
It was just amazing.
How was Korn?
The first time I saw Korn, it was a really good concert. How many years later was it? I don't know, 4 or 5. It was the same concert.
Yeah,
exactly the same concert. They said the same things. They did the same show, and you're there to see Korn. You're there to see them do their big songs.
Play the hits.
But it was like they just redid that entire show again, and it was good. But I would not want to follow Gojira. I just wouldn't want to follow that band.
One of my last memories of my father was that Christmas I actually bought him tickets for a concert because my dad absolutely loved Limp Bizkit. My dad loved Limp Bizkit, like
new metal 90s.
He loved new metal
2000s. I mean,
just Bizkit. He wasn't. He didn't really know. He just loved. Well, actually, he loved break stuff.
Yeah,
that was my dad. Man, when when 93X plays that song, I'm just like, whatever, Dad. Anyway, so I was like, you know what? I'm going to bring my dad to Limp Bizkit Korn because if he likes them that much, and so he told me a story. And once again, it's going to go back to that revolving cycle of stuff. How old was I? It had to have been 40 years ago, almost to the day. He was in that same auditorium listening to The Who do Behind Blue Eyes. And here we are listening to Limp Bizkit cover Behind Blue Eyes as father and son.
Yeah.
To watch your gray-haired, well, I guess he was probably around my age, bouncing to Limp Bizkit is probably one of the coolest moments I ever had in my life. Just kind of like, okay, you're like you're older than the security guards here, and he's just
I know.
I'm like, okay,
I know.
And I think he wore himself out because
but he probably had the time of his life.
He did,
so
because we only stayed for like 4 songs for Korn. But it was the same Korn. The curtain was around them. The lights would, y'all want a single state?
Yeah.
And then the curtain drops and it's
So it's the same thing.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
just like when
Korn,
Mary and I went and saw Kiss, Aerosmith. Now that, I'll tell you what,
that probably is a good show.
Aerosmith rocked the shit out of that stage.
Sure did,
Kiss, it was the exact same show from 1977. They came down.
Yeah.
The explosions, the blood, the flame, the sword, the drum solo. It was the exact same show. But that's what everybody paid for. They paid for the nostalgia.
They want to see this. They want to see
because they remember those days when concerts was, that was the gathering place, was a concert.
Well, yeah, you didn't have YouTube and all that to see live footage. You had to go to the show, and you had to,
tailgating,
and you didn't have your phones to put up in front of you.
Oh God, I just put that thing down. Nobody cares.
I might take a couple pictures.
I take pictures
just to say for memories, but I put my phone away. I want to watch the show.
Thank you. I take my phone out on intermission only. Because
I might take a picture of the band a couple times or something, and then I put my phone away.
God, those people. Then they go to the concert, and then they look. If I wanted the concert, I would have paid for a fucking ticket and went.
Selfies, I'm at this concert. It's like whatever. It's fine. I don't get mad at anybody if they do it. Just for me personally, I want to watch
I paid
the
money
show.
I paid money to see the performer perform, not through a 7.5-inch screen. I have 3D vision this way.
I think back to your question with my third album.
Okay.
If I had to really put something on it, it would be Iron Maiden, Somewhere in Time. When that came out, I really learned a lot of that album too on guitar.
What was the big song? Wasted Years was off.
Somewhere in Time.
Somewhere in Time.
Wasted Years. Deja Vu. Was on that.
Wasted Years. No, there's one for you. What do you think of that ridiculous ass cover that Skid Row did of that?
I don't like when bands do covers usually. Once in a while, a band can do a good cover. I think like Five Finger has done some good covers of songs.
They've done some good covers.
I typically don't like it when bands redo a song.
Yeah.
Typically. I would just rather hear the original version of it.
But who was it? Nonpoint did "In the Air Tonight" by Phil Collins.
Probably.
That was a great cover. To me,
that's what I mean. Once in a while,
I mean,
Sebastian Bach just redid a Triumph song, and he did an amazing job on it. I think.
Fight the Power or Magic Power.
No, what the heck did he redo? I just heard it too. Can't remember now.
What about that Sammy song that I had you play? The Encore Goodnight.
So that's a song he wrote on a dream he had.
Yeah, A Dream About Eddie.
Yeah. That's not a remake though.
No. I'm just because you were trying to think of something. I just thought I'd throw that out there.
Yeah, no. I can't remember the name of the song Sebastian did, but he did a really good job on it. And I think it's Rock and Roll Machine.
Okay,
I think that's what it is. If I remember right. But he did a great job in that. But,
see, I wish some of these bands, would just stop with the bitching and the fighting and get back together. Because you know what, I would love to see Queensryche one more time with Jeff Tate.
Yeah,
I would love to see Sebastian Bach with Skid Row one more time.
I'm hear like Journey, and you know me, I'm not a Journey fan, but they're all fighting and in court over who's got the rights to their songs and all. It's just, come on.
Just shut up and play the songs.
Just go on.
Like if Guns N' Roses actually came back together with Steven Adler and did all 6 original members, it would be monster.
I don't know that they would get Izzy back either, though. No. So
no, that sucks because, now like Great White, Jack Russell's dead now, so, Well, I had to have seen him.
This summer, my band gets to open for April Wine and Molly Hatchet and Warrant.
Yeah.
And Warrant.
Janie
Lane's gone. So I'm kind of wondering how... Because I haven't heard him sing. I don't know how well he does, I don't know. I'm just wondering how it's going to be. I'm sure they're good, but it's not the same.
The guy actually was on. He actually was on a few CDs because Janie hadn't been with. Janie came back for a while to do the reunion tour before he died because we actually got to see him.
Right.
Well, we did a lot of shows together. So I guess I take that back. We did see a lot of shows together, but we ended up working them back at Northern Lights Casino time. Yeah.
But you know what my favorite one is with that, when you bring that up, is when Tesla. Because those guys came and hung out with us.
Yeah.
They weren't jerks. We're sitting there eating lunch. You remember that? We're sitting there eating lunch, and the singer and the whole band walked in and like, hey, you guys mind if we sit here? And they sat and ate lunch with us, and then we went and threw a football around with them. And they just hung out with us all day, and other people had to pay to do that with that band. And if you remember, Dean was with us. He just thought that was the coolest thing, because it was one of his favorite bands.
Yeah.
But then when we did Stained, and that singer just wouldn't have nothing to do with us, and he wouldn't talk to us, and
I love Aaron Lewis.
Billy Squire too.
Yeah, Billy Squire was an ass. He was. And that hurt Dean's feelings.
Hired my son to go do his laundry for him. Yeah, it was just crazy.
The Aaron Lewis thing, I love Aaron Lewis, and I've actually gotten to meet Aaron Lewis twice now after that. Mm-hmm. In the meet and greets, he's got social anxiety. He doesn't like people.
Yeah.
So for him to even do meet and greets, so he was wearing a Britney Spears t-shirt during his meet and greet. That's how much he really gives a shit about meet and greets. And Mary had asked him about playing, because in our 10-year, which was a great story, we'll save that for another episode. She got tangled up in you, tattooed on her arm, and she's like, "Just please play this tonight."
So did you ever know like Beth was completely pissed at me that night? Did you know that?
Oh yeah.
You knew that.
I didn't know because I was too busy trying to entertain.
Because we had planned that whole thing. I know it's another
topic.
We had planned the whole thing, and Beth was like, Mick is going to ask Mary to remarry him and do all these vows and everything, and she was all mad at me. She was.
I had no idea.
She had the Shrout face on.
She was so mad. I was like, I don't even know if I'm going to be allowed to go home tonight, but she was so mad. And then
you had to hold that for how many months?
And she got mad because I got up and talked. And she's like, you're going to talk at their thing, and you're not even going to ask me to remarry you? And then I turned it into that thing. And,
well, you know what? We already blew the whole damn thing. So at our Mary and I's 10-year anniversary, Randy re-proposed to his beautiful bride Beth. So we had a double mastectomy. I mean, a double ceremony that day.
But we had planned that.
But we had planned it.
You know when we planned that? Do you remember when we planned that? We were making your tables for. We were making those tables for your game show mania.
That's right.
Show.
We were planning
and
it
we planned it then, and we are like, we should do this. That's a good idea. Yeah. And that was like months before.
But you didn't tell either of us.
No. Why would I?
And then
you and I got in that accident coming back from Walker. Yeah. And I told that part of the story. And
the Shires girls got the sheriffs out there.
Yep.
Yeah, that was pretty good. I tell you what. But
we got some good memories, a lot of good memories. So.
You know, and that's the thing.
Beth almost
your third one is Somewhere in Time by
Iron
Maiden. So number one, let's go back. Number one,
Pyromania.
Yeah. Number two,
Vulgar Display.
Number three is
Somewhere in Time. Yeah.
Those are three really good damn albums right there. You know what? I got absolutely zero complaints on those. Mm-hmm. Those are three great albums. The other thing I want to ask you about, because you're also in the entertainment business along with your whole family.
That's the cool thing about our band is, Beth is a singer, Presley's the drummer. The other two guys, they're like family now. They come over for dinner on practice nights, and it's just a cool thing.
So when you're out doing what you're doing, there's no better feeling, is there?
No, because it's, first of all, I love to play my guitar, and when I play my guitar, I'm just kind of in my own space. It's just me. And
He's right here.
when we can go and just for a couple hours or 3 or 4 hours, we just provide that kind of escape for other people, and they come up on the dance floor and they just lose all inhibitions, and they're dancing however they dance, and they're having a good time. And I love doing it with my family. I can turn around and I see Presley smiling at the drums, and Beth and I interact on stage, and those are the best times, to me. They are, and when the crowd's into it and they're singing along, and they're cover songs. We're a cover band. Who cares?
I've said this a million times.
The dumbest songs, like we do
YMCA.
We've talked about doing that song. We don't do that one, but
no, you should do it.
We do the Greased song, the theme song. You're the one that I want. Yeah. Stupidest song, and everybody, as soon as they hear that opening bass line, they all come running. New Year's Eve we did. New Year's Eve we did.
The one that I want.
You're the one that I want.
Boom. Yeah. Okay.
Boom. Boom.
Yeah.
New Year's Eve we did our own version of Dancing Queen by ABBA.
Nice.
Just to see, and it packed the floor.
Of course,
just dumb songs like that, but it's just fun, and we enjoy it. We have fun doing it. And
the thing is,
and everybody in our band gets along. Even our sound person, she's just a great person. Shout out to Holly. But
you're not gonna ever make $1 million doing it.
No, I don't care.
It's not about the money.
And we write music together and we put it out there, and it's
I was hoping your new song would have been ready for
this
episode.
We're not trying to make it or anything. It's just something we do, and just hey, it'll be ready soon.
Well, you'll have to come over for a full band episode and play for everybody.
Some members in our band have had some private things going on, and we just haven't had time to get it completely done yet. So, but we will. It's a work in progress, and it's fun. It's a lot of fun that we're that household that, when Presley wants to go practice her drums, we don't get mad about it. Yeah. Love to hear her play. Most of my friends are like, I don't know how you put up with that. Well, that's what we do.
It's
I go down there and I crank up my guitar and play for a while, and I'm sure Beth might get sick of hearing it sometimes, but
Mary said,
but she's never.
Are you ever going to go back to the Zen Den? Because her office is right above mine. So all she hears all night is zoom, 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 zoom. She's like, will you go back over to the Zen Den and listen to music?
There are times I go down and I crank up my guitar, and I'm sure it's loud, but she never yells at me about it or anything.
It helps me. It helps me cleanse my soul when I have my music loud. And especially if the playlist, because I have it on the 250,000 songs, it's on random shuffle, so I have no idea what the next song is. Right. But I'll tell you what, when a 4 or 5 song playlist in a row gets on, it grabbed 5 great songs in a row, and I'm just laying in my chair. Oh yeah, nothing better than that.
I'll tell you how I know I'm getting old is we took a drive in the car the other day, and we turned on Yacht Rock. And we listened to Yacht Rock, and I actually enjoyed it.
I love
Yacht Rock rocks.
I would have gotten beat up for that back in the day.
Oh, look, if I was listening to Michael McDonald instead of Twisted Sister back, I'd have got my ass whooped.
Yep,
but actually, Yacht Rock is the new
old America and stuff like that. I mean, just so
Pablo
we just kind of took a cruise and listened to that.
Little River Band.
Yeah,
the Doobie Brothers.
You know what? That was actually really complicated music. It's
very jazzy,
very hard music to play, and they were very skilled musicians, and they had a lot of.
there was a lot of cheese.
Christopher Cross,
great
sailing.
He's very talented. They weren't
So that was a song the other day in the car when it came on. I'm like, I hear that song, and it takes me right back to. I know exactly where I was when I heard that song. There you go.
Social distortion.
But so those are.
I'm going to show you one. No, tell you one. The first, because you told me the first time you heard Iron Man. I could tell you the first time I heard a song that made me want to be in entertainment. Rick Derringer, Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo, off of All American Boy. Yeah. My dad had that green vinyl record with him in that tinfoil suit.
Yeah.
And I played that song over and over and over. And I was like, I'm going to be this song. And then my dad took the record away because I played
because he got sick of hearing it.
It was like, speaking of happy birthday, Bob Seger. His birthday is today. Somebody posted it on Facebook.
Happy birthday.
Hey, brother, we got to do this again. That was fun.
Sure.
So thank you for your top 3 albums there. Those were
too.
great. Those are good 3 good albums there.
Yep.
All right, everybody. We're going to take a break from doing this now. We'll come back with another episode here soon.